Welcome everybody to another episode of Let's Make Dinner, your audio library of amazing dinner recipes you can always get on the table. I'm your host, Susie Weinrich. Fire up those grills, everybody. Today we are making a grilled chicken burger that is full of flavor. You are not going to have a dry piece of shoe leather for dinner tonight. This burger, I'm going to give you all of the tips and tricks for cooking with that ground chicken that can tend to be a little bit flavorless. It can be a little bit hard to work with. And if you don't spice it up just right, it can be a little bit dry. So we are going to make sure that your chicken burgers are amazing. One thing that I love about this chicken burger is that when you serve it with an Adobo Aioli that you make just with chipotles and adobo, you know, that little can of those spicy little peppers and some mayonnaise and a couple spices, and it just makes your burger so yummy. This recipe will make about 4 or 5 chicken burgers for you. Will take about 15 minutes to prep, probably about a 15-minute total cook time and cooling time. So you're in about 30 minutes for this dinner. Now let's start by going over a couple tips and tricks for this Chipotle chicken burger recipe. First of all, when you're buying your ground chicken, you want to make sure that you're buying a ground chicken that just says ground chicken. You don't want all lean breast meat ground chicken or extra lean ground chicken or 99% lean ground chicken. That is going to be all breast meat and be way too lean to make a really good chicken burger. The ground chicken that you want is going to probably be more around like 93% lean, meaning that it has some fat and some dark meat in the mixture so that you have more flavor and you have more juiciness. That's what you're looking for. Now you're also going to use a little bit of bread. With most of the ground meat recipes on Mom's Dinner, we're making something called a panade, which just is going to help keep your burger extra juicy. So it says 1 slice of white or wheat bread. What you want to avoid, you could use sourdough, you could use a ciabatta, you can use just sandwich bread. You just want to avoid any kind of bread that has a lot of seeds or nuts because you're not really looking for that in your ground chicken burger. All right, one other ingredient is the chipotles in adobo. This is going to be a little can that's going to be called Chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. You just need 1 can. They're very spicy, so don't be fooled when you open the can and you smell it. It smells nice and smoky and looks like little red peppers in this sauce. They are very spicy. So I think the burgers call for about a tablespoon of the sauce from the can, and then the aioli that we're going to make calls for a little bit of that sauce as well as 1 of the chipotle peppers. The rest of the can you can save to make something else. You can put them in the freezer, but that's all you'll need for this recipe. The other thing that you want to make sure you have on hand is plenty of non-stick cooking spray. When you're working with ground chicken, it's very wet and very sticky. So you want to make sure you have that non-stick cooking spray so that you can transfer the burgers to the grill and then also ensuring that they don't stick to the grill. Okay, I think that's all my tips and tricks for this recipe. Let's get into making the full recipe for your grilled chicken burgers with Adobo Aioli. You're going to want to start by preheating your grill to high heat and get ready for direct heat cooking. So if you have a gas grill, a charcoal grill, anything will work here. Then you want to take a baking sheet and line it with wax paper that you've cut into squares about the size of a burger. This is going to help you transfer those sticky chicken burgers to the grill. You want to spray all of those wax paper squares really generously with that non-stick cooking spray. Now you can set all that aside. We're going to go ahead and make the mixture for your chicken burgers. So in a medium bowl, you're going to combine 1 tablespoon of flat leaf parsley that you finely chopped, 1 tablespoon of that adobo sauce, 2 minced garlic cloves, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, 2 tablespoons of milk, and 2 tablespoons of mayo. Give that a really good stir. Then you're going to add in that one slice of white or wheat bread. You can remove the crust or leave the crust on, totally up to you, and just either cut it into small squares or rip the bread apart and put it into that mayonnaise and milk mixture. Give it a really good stir so that the bread starts to absorb all of that milk and mayonnaise and adobo sauce. Then you can add in that 1 pound of ground chicken. Give it a really good stir, either with a fork or with clean hands, just until it combines and it looks basically like burger mixture. Now you're going to want to form that mixture into about 4 or 5 equal-sized patties. They're going to be really, really sticky. So what I like to do is slightly wet my hands and then start forming the patties. I just make basically like a big meatball, and then I press it onto that prepared wax paper and make a little divot in the top with your thumb by pressing your thumb into the middle of the patty, and then spray the tops of the patties really generously. I mean, really generously with that nonstick cooking spray, and that will help prevent your burgers from sticking to the grill. Now, once those are all made, you can either refrigerate them for a little while or you can take them directly to the grill. You just want to grill your burgers over direct heat for about 4 or 5 minutes on each side. And since this is chicken, you want to make sure, and actually you don't want to, you need to make sure that your burgers are cooked to 165 degrees internal temperature with an instant read thermometer to make sure that that chicken is cooked all the way through. Now at the very end of cooking, I like to move mine to indirect heat and top each one with a slice of pepper jack cheese, pop the lid on the grill, and just let that start to melt for about a minute. Now, while you're out at your grill, if you want, you can toast your buns. We love to toast our burger buns on the grill. Just brush them with a little bit of olive oil or butter, pop them over the heat just for like 30 seconds, and they'll be nice and toasty. You also want to make sure you have some of your other favorite burger toppings, maybe lettuce, tomato, red onion, would be great on top of this burger. Now bring everything inside, and what you want to do next is make your adobo aioli while the burgers cool. So this is super duper simple. All you need to do is mix together half a cup of mayonnaise, 3/4 teaspoon of sugar, 1 small chili pepper from that Chipotle and adobo can. Just pull one of the chilies out and mince it up really good. 1 minced garlic clove, juice of about a half a lime, and half a teaspoon of that adobo sauce from that can. Now just mix that all together, and that's your adobo aioli. To put it all together, you take a bun, slather some of that adobo aioli on, maybe put some lettuce, tomato, red onion, your chicken burger with the pepper jack cheese, and then top it off with more of that adobo aioli, and then serve them up. We love to serve these with just some maybe chips or fries. Some sweet potato fries would be really good. Some grilled corn on the cob, since you have your grill going. Maybe some chips and guacamole, or just grilled vegetables. You can make skewers of zucchini, bell pepper, onion, mushrooms, asparagus. Those can all be a wonderful side dish for these burgers. All right, so that does it for this full recipe. As always, I will link all of the recipes I talked about in this show right in the show notes for you so that you can click through, check it out, print it, pin it, share it, make this recipe for dinner. You will not be disappointed. So until next time, I hope this episode of Let's Make Dinner makes your dinner time a little easier. See ya. All right, now it's time for your double dip. Thank you so much for sticking around, guys. So next week, we are not doing a full dinner recipe. This is more of a side dish, but it's one that you are absolutely going to love. We're going over how to make a buttermilk cornbread and honey butter, which makes an excellent side dish for so many dinners. A lot of grilled dinners in the summer, and then some really delicious soup dinners in the fall and the winter. So if you want to join me next week and make that delicious buttermilk cornbread and some honey butter, here are the things that you need to grab. 1.5 cups of medium grind cornmeal, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of each baking powder and baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, 1.5 cups of buttermilk, 2 large eggs, a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, and then some kind of non-stick baking spray or just additional oil. Then, if you want to really go over the top, which I know you do, for the honey butter, here's what you'll need. 12 tablespoons of salted butter that's softened at room temperature, 2.5 tablespoons of a good quality honey, and then 3/4 teaspoon of flake sea salt, like a Maldon sea salt, or if you're using a kosher salt, you want to just start with about a 1/4 teaspoon. So we will make both of those things on the podcast next week. And until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and week ahead.